The title, the topic for this Dharma talk is outflows subside in awareness. Outflows subside. That outflow can be anger, depression, anxiety, all kinds of things. The interesting thing about this is the way the outflow happens. When the outflow of anger happens, for instance, or the outflow of anxiety or fear or jealousy, that just behind that, there is just a pure awareness of the emotion that creates that kind of an outflow. So if you, over time, can't do this in 10 seconds, can't do it in a second. It has to be done as it is, as it is. As soon as the emotion starts to arise, just be aware. Just the outflow will subside. The outflow is beginning to show up, but it just subsides in the awareness. As you've heard many times, other places other than just this one, just be aware, be aware. Just be aware of what happens. Don't have to modify it, change it. Don't meddle with anything. Outflow, the outflow of anger, the outflow of hatred, the outflow of jealousy, the outflow subsides. Even curiosity, which is kind of an outflow, subsides in awareness. Because if you're aware, you'll know what it is, not in the conventional sense of relative knowledge. You just know, and there'll be no conclusion about it. No, I think I've got it. That's circular, because if you've got it, you're going to lose it. Just like you've got this life, you're going to lose this life. You have this thought, this idea, you're going to lose it. You have this ability, this skill, which you can do this. You do that, you can do that. Won't last. Not a condemnation, it's just observation, which you can all see. Anything that shows up is going away. The most wonderful thing is fading away. The most horrible thing is tipping this way and falling away. Please, just observe. Just observe. The outflow, the springing forth into blaming, into the other way, going backwards away from something, outflowing in this direction. It's just some kind of something has got you and it's pulling you backwards. All of that will subside in awareness. When the awareness just sees the springboard of that. The springboard is you're aware and the emotion is there. It just even split second is not a good way to talk about it, because it's less than that. The awareness is there and we immediately leave the awareness. We stop being aware, maybe only 20%, but that's all it takes. Maybe 38%. Stop being aware and we start pushing outwards. I feel this way. I feel that way. I shouldn't feel that way. What's happening now? Don't describe anything. Don't refuse anything. Don't. All the don'ts. Pick 15 of them and don't. Don't. As it says in a parking lot in the Twin Cities, don't parking. They weren't really familiar with our language. When I say our language, I'm saying what? English? That's what you call it. Excuse me. Outflow, there's one. Clearing my throat. Something happens that we have a feeling do something with it. Clear our throat. We blow our nose, which I'm about to do. Pardon me for this particular outflow. You're aware that your nose is running. You didn't do it, but you did that. So it increases the identity. Very simple movement, picking up a fork. No, wait, I want a spoon. That's an outflow. It's not wrong. The idea is to be aware of that. Be aware of very simple movements Don't fix them, don't correct them, don't change them, don't modify them. Just be aware. If you have something you're habituated to, you keep pushing on this or pulling on that, don't try to stop it because then it goes underground because the circularity, you have not addressed the circularity of it. And when you don't address the circularity and you just try to stop that merry-go-round off to one side, this is not going to feel comfortable. You might drag your feet all the way around in the circle. Not comfortable. So what do you do with that? Just be aware of it. Awareness. The outflow of pushing, pulling, shutting down, passion, aggression, and ignorance this way, that way, this way, that way, tends to subside. It doesn't do it right away. We don't get immediate evidence or immediate result that, this is working. If you get that, it's a circle. You won't need evidence if you see what this is. The only way you're going to need evidence is if you think you're over here and everything else is over there, or if you think you're over there and everything else. Anytime you buy into any microcosmic model of duality, it expands all over the place because it's just consciousness. It's just consciousness. It's just a huge ocean full of the fish, a huge sky full of the clouds. Don't grasp, don't reject, don't shut down. Be the space in which things occur. Be the space in which even the most difficult emotional upheaval that's showing up in your mind, be generous, be very welcoming, allow that to come in. I don't say you have to throw out the red carpet or something. You don't have to be outlandish or ostentatious about it, so you get a little credit for being so generous, but just receive. It's a very simple hand gesture. You don't have to do this with your hand, but it's that it's like you're doing that with your attitude. Just receive. This is also one of receiving. These two coming together. Positive, negative, up and down, right and wrong. Life and death coming together. Just receive. The collapsing or the resolving or the pulling the rug out from under. It's like the outflow is coming out because you're so vividly aware of the complete emptiness of what is happening. Awareness is just empty. It doesn't have anything in it. As soon as the awareness fills up with an activity, a statement, a word, a thought, a memory, a judgment, an emotion, a feeling, as soon as it fills up, just receive it. If you just receive it, the whole thing collapses into emptiness. Not the relative emptiness of it's gone, but the emptiness that it has no substrate, no foundation. It's one of the difficult things about the spiritual path is that unlike other ways of doing things in the world, it doesn't have any result or credential. As you go along, the credentials, the result, the proof that you're making it, you're getting somewhere, tend to fall by the wayside. And what needs to fall by the wayside sooner than anything else? Here it comes. Listen to this. What needs to fall by the wayside sooner, as you're on the path, as you're meditating, as you're studying the Dharma, as you're reading Dharma books, as you're listening to this Dharma talk, or if you're listening to anyone else, whomever it is, doesn't matter. I don't care who you listen to. But what has to subside is expectation. Because if it doesn't, if there's some kind of expectation that things are going to get better, or there's some kind of expectation that if I just practice this or this and this, then this will happen. It's not that that might not happen, but it's not only circular, it's cylindrical. It's just, you cannot find a beginning and end to it. It's just around and around. The ego cannot find anything in there, so therefore it doesn't see what's happening. It doesn't see the circularity because it's looking for items. And consciousness does not look for items. What does consciousness do? Consciousness doesn't look for anything. But whatever shows up, consciousness receives that. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Whatever shows up, just receive. Thoughts, memories, emotions, nothing to fix anywhere. It may be painful for 20 seconds. It may be painful for 20 years. Just receive it. That's the end of suffering. Receive. You can do that. I'll take questions if there are some.
Earl, I'm bowing with the title that um, outflows subside in awareness. And you pointed out how even grabbing a spoon is an outflow. Are there
Yes.
certain outflows that don't subside in awareness?
The ones that are dependently arisen. So awareness doesn't occur. Nothing occurs. It's empty of anything that shows up. So as I perceive what it is you want to know, what you seem to be curious about, as I would say that the some things come and go in that awareness, and when you see that picking up the spoon, or rather than the fork, when you see it's just a very, very small movement. It's about being aware of that. It's not about not picking and choosing in that area. It's about the grasping part of it. So there's going to be, if we're in the illusion, it's time to take a nap or time to go for a walk. So those are all uh, totally appropriate. The way that was talked about in the Zen tradition, you'll probably all recognize this saying in Zen: before awakening, chop wood, carry water. This probably came out of a few years ago. Chopping wood, carrying water. After awakening, chop wood, carry water. Nothing has actually changed in the illusion, other than you realize it's an illusion and you're no longer chasing circles. That doesn't mean you don't pick up a spoon rather than a fork. So you may still do some of that. It's interesting that there is also a noticing that there's an outflowing quality of that. You're here, you're functioning, consciousness is functioning within what is referred to as a human being. You actually, this is an illusion though. More?
Earl, I'm bowing. Is the illusion the same thing as like this being a dream?
Yes. It's not exactly a dream because the dream has the corner of the market on that. The dream is the dream. It gets to be the dream. Nothing else gets to be the dream. But it's so therefore it's like a dream. But this is uh, not just a dream. This is completely a simulation or an illusion. It's not a dream. A dream is something you think is real, and you don't know that it's a dream. But this is the dream that you know it's a dream, and you still move, close down. You still have emotions may come out of. There's no one here, so therefore any emotion that arises doesn't belong to you. I'm not saying I'm over here feeling your emotions because it's more thoroughgoing. There's a bigger emptiness than that. I'm not saying I'm feeling your emotions, but I may be feeling emotions that aren't necessarily generated in this particular life form. Yes.
Earl, I'm bowing. You've brought up how if there's a shred of ego left, that can be terrifying.
Yes.
Does that terror wear itself out?
It's just seen to be unreal. So therefore, you're able to welcome that. You can welcome the negativity. You might not enjoy it. You can welcome the terror, the pain, or the suffering. You might not be what sometimes is referred to as fearless, but even the fear is seen to be unreal. So it's more. When I say more, that's the only word I can think of. It's complete. It's just awareness. There are no objects anywhere, no items. There are no clouds in the sky. There's just sky. There's no fish in the ocean. There's just ocean. Ocean of Dharma.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kanjama bowing. Is ignorance the opposite of awareness?
It's talked about that way, but they're also the same. They're separate. Awareness here and is opening up and receiving, and over here is ignorance is shutting down and closing off. But those are not two separate things, nor are they the same. Yet they're the same. That's why we say they're not separate, rather than posit some kind of well, that's the same as that. We do it a little bit. We are trapped and convinced or shunned by language. Language is astonishing the way we actually assume that we think. We make an assumption that we think about things, and we do not. Only awareness does anything in the illusion. There are no solid reference points anywhere. More.
Pendulum bowing, what does awareness do in the illusion?
Doesn't do anything. It doesn't even receive. It's not separate from it. But it has a function through the practice, ground, path, and fruition, suffering, difficulty, frustration, path, be aware, receive, observe what's happening and receive it. Receive any part of the illusion. The wall you're looking at, the carpeting, your cat jumping off the table, the birds flying through past the window, noises out in the yard or on the road. Receive. That's the path. Observe. So in other words, sit down, hold still. You have all these sense fields that are all ready to receive everything and observe. Don't leave what you're observing, other than to receive what you're observing. It's a little bit of stepping back because there's somewhat of a receiving quality here, which is the path. So you're converting, changing over the self-centeredness that's based on fear to a part of self-centeredness, self-centeredness that is based on the path, on the dedication to save all beings, put others before yourself, and awareness that how hard that is to do that until you see there are no others. This is fruition. There isn't anything. But even that is extra because that's a comment on what you've just understood. So you've left it so that you can teach it. But when you stop teaching, then there's just this. Nothing happens.
Then what is the difference between being aware of something and not being aware of something? Is there any difference between those two?
What do you think?
Well, you were just basically saying that nothing happens.
Ultimately, nothing happens. Relatively, things go this way, go that way. They get lighter, get darker. They change, they rotate.
So then are we just, when we're not aware of what is showing up, are we just solidifying?
When you're not aware, you're kind of at the mercy of that. You're not aware, then yes, you're tightening down on some things, loosening up on others. There's a solidity or a fixation on things being a certain way. It can continue. Some people's solidity comes from rotating back and forth. Some people's solidity comes from the obvious kind of just locking down. And some people's solidity comes from taking a direction, just never stopping, which is not the same as the vow. It's because it's ego-based. More.
Realm bowing is saying that nothing happens the same thing as nothing is separate. Bowing.
Yes.
Realm bowing. So nothing happens. Does it look the same as when we thought things were happening?
Yes, it looks the same. There may be an area on the path where you start to just kind of flash on. Everything is kind of mirror-like, which is the teaching, like the song of the jewel mirror samadhi, Hokyozamai. That's a path quality. Eventually, there's no mirror. There's nothing being mirrored because you don't see anything but this. You don't see anything but yourself everywhere. So it's no longer a mirror. The mirror is it kind of entices you to look closer because you start to see that what you thought was over there is you're not separate from. So that draws you towards it, keeps the path quality going. But at some point, you don't even give up. It just wears out. Everything that shows up is completely appropriate. It's called, in the Dzogchen masters call it the great perfection. So it's Dzogpa Jumpo.
Erlon bowing. What does it mean for something like suffering to be perfect? Bowing.
It's unreal. It's an illusion. So therefore, the very suffering that you're having is not separate from when you're not suffering. It's non-dual. It's not two. There's no two things. So if we posit something as being over here, we're ignoring this over here. But if we start looking at that and start looking at that for what that is, then we start to ignore this over here. We are trapped in the prison of ego that's looking for something. It's an illusion that we want this and we don't want that. And we keep shifting around looking for some kind of reference point. This reference point being the one that the primary dictator, the primary oligarch that could appear very passive and loving and generous and kind to everyone. Ego. I'm not saying you aren't loving and kind. genuine and generous people that are terrible people. They're hiding that. I'm just saying that it's just a way of ego functioning that way. It's not the spiritual path, but it's a very high level of the mundane path where you're just helping other people, but you are still trapped by the credential part of it. You think you're a helper, and you are affected by what other people think. If someone comes along and thinks you're not a helper, you're not, and you see clearly, you know what I'm talking about. You're not affected by that. Are you affected? Yeah, you might feel sad about it, but you're sad for them. They've misunderstood of what was happening and thought that there was a right and wrong, a should and shouldn't. And they can get trapped by it. People all over, millions, thousands, countless people are trapped by the illusion of thinking there's some parts that are right, some parts that are wrong. So this doesn't mean that a person who's very helpful, who is a doctor, a nurse, who's dedicated, who puts others before themselves, and really it's pretty obvious they do that, doesn't mean they're not helpful. Of course they're helpful. Without those people, there wouldn't be any world, wouldn't be any illusion at all to even awaken from.
Shui Wu bowing. You talked about how we have to get rid of expectations on the spiritual path. But how do we work with
I
expectations?
didn't say we had to get rid of expectations.
We had to conjugal, remember?
Did I say you have to?
Observe.
Let go.
Okay,
Follow
I'll
away.
go with, we have to, the way I teach anything like that, when I say let go, when I say don't add, don't subtract, don't divide, I'm not saying, I know you can't do that. You can't let go of expectations, but if you're aware that you have the expectation, that will help weaken that area so that you're not always leaning on the expectation. You're actually, you might realize there's some expectation looking for result. So just continue to do that. You do not have to fix that. Just be aware that you're expecting things.
Shui Wu bowing. Is that the same way we work with expectations on the mundane path?
It's a little different on the mundane path, because then if we work really hard and we're studying economics or something, or getting a degree, and then we have an expectation if we study that we're going to be able to pass tests and eventually graduate and get our credentials so that we can generate a livelihood. It's a very relative area. So I think that's a part of the difficulty with the spiritual path is quite often the things that are applied to the mundane path are brought into the spiritual area where we have to accomplish, we have to be peaceful, and we have to. Even the precepts, the 16 precepts are full of that. If you don't have a teacher to tell you what those precepts, how to work with those, you'll think you have to obey them. Many people, highly helpful, loving, kind, generous, sweethearts, are still tied up in right and wrong. And if you're around them, and if you don't fit in with their idea of right and wrong, they will stop helping you because you don't deserve it. Kind of. I'm laughing about it, but not because it's funny. It's just because it's so obvious what this is. But billions of people will not see it. They will go on to live the rest of their life and die, and they'll be back again. Or that consciousness, not that person, but the consciousness that is showing up as that identity will drop away, and that identity may come back or not. But the consciousness will show up. Why? It never left. Nothing actually occurs. That's why it's so profound and vast, to use the relative description. More.
Not at this time. Thank you.
Jen?
Jen Bowling, are we here as individuals just to receive bowing?
From the very biased point of view of the spiritual path, yes, you're born, and if you start to look around for what is this about, why is this, you have this existential angst that was described back 100 years ago by the various philosophers and so on. Then you're going to try to see fundamentally what this is. So I'm not sure if I'm getting close to what you're asking. Maybe you could elaborate on the question a little more.
Jen Bowing, I don't know if I can. I mean, it's coming from the question, your other question, why are we here? But then if I follow my idea of what you would say, it would be maybe to receive consciousness receiving through this particular portal
Yeah.
unimpeded, something like that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So if you just reflect a little bit on what your sense fields do, they receive, as I've said a few times and others have said, the sense of touch. There's a little bit of activity in there, but sense of touch feels, sense of hearing, sense of smelling, tasting, seeing, and so on. And even that misunderstood quite a bit is a sense of the consciousness in the mind stream is also receiving thoughts. No one generates anything. That might be a good area for anyone to take a look at and say, who really is thinking? When you start to have thoughts about anything, go just 2 centimeters behind the identity part of that into who actually is there. You won't find anything. This is actually finding. When I say go, as I've said recently, when I say go within, you won't find anything. But this is a kind of discovery to see that you're actually here. You have thoughts, you have memories, you have a story about your life. You get upset about this, and you feel good one day, and the next day you might have a headache or something, and it's completely unreal. There is no one here, yet you're showing up temporarily in this particular body, and you can do this. You can relax. You can lean back. You can grow old, which I'm accomplishing pretty well here so far. Not everyone grows old. Some people die early. Are they failures? Little transcendental humor there. If you don't laugh, that's fine. More, Jen?
Jan Bowing. I have an unrelated question. But
Oh, good.
whatever, they're all related, I guess.
Yeah, all cousins.
Is partnering with someone who's not on the path, does that weaken? No, okay.
No, not at all. It changes the shape of it, but since there's no person anywhere, there's no person who's on the path, there's no person who's not on the path. The dynamic there is, it could be, even if you were to use the relative understanding, it could be a very good thing for you to be with that person who seems to be, since you can't, are having difficulty watching your own mind, you watch somebody else not watch their mind. So, I mean, it's, the therapist in the room is laughing right now. So it's just a way of talking about it. I'm just going in the same mind stream that you're using to ask the question. I'm saying, well, anything can happen. Anything. The illusion gets very strange sometimes. And if we look for right or wrong or should be or shouldn't be, I've even said, it doesn't matter if you meditate. And I mean it. I'm serious about that. Should you meditate? Yes, you should sit down, hold still, and watch the movement. But if you or someone else says, well, I can't sit anymore. I've had students that have been meditating for 20 or 30 years, just not be able to sit anymore. Not a mistake. Not a mistake. But that doesn't mean that 3 weeks from now, they need to hold on to that and never meditate again. They might start meditating again. So all meditation is observing and it's setting up an ideal body-mind situation where, like a monastery, where you can observe, like I just said recently, go within. You don't have to be in this monastery, but you might have to go into this monastery. Go into this one. Go in. Hold still. Shut up. But if you hear yourself jabbering, then it's just like a 4-year-old. You're not going to shut them up. You're going to have to work with that in some way, which is probably listening to them. Or see if you can't see what the source of that is. There are only 4 or 3. So same thing with the mind, just receive. Natsumi.
Natsumi Bowing. Is prioritizing the intention to learn over outcomes instead of outcomes, is that something you would recommend?
Yes, it's a kind of learning that starts out relative. We prioritize that, receive, and just whatever shows up, just as I've said before, just swallow it, just open wide, allow it to come in. This doesn't mean voluntarily go out and find something so you can prove you're doing that and eat something that's going to be harmful to you. Excuse me, although there's no real result there. We tend to look for some kind of a pat on the back so that what we're doing is okay. Who's that intelligent looking person next to you there?
Yeah, it's on camera mode.
He ran away. I don't blame him. Anything further on that, Natsumi?
Natsumi bowing. I think I had another question about something that you had said earlier.
Yes.
I think you were talking about us looking for solidity and that some people oscillate or go back and forth between things and find solidity in that. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how that shows up or what can help us to see when that's happening.
So it's a little difficult to come up with words that further elaborate on that, but I will endeavor to do that since you've asked. The fixation part of the security is just you stopped investigating and you could say use the fancy intense word, you just believe that you're right and you no longer look into that. It's called an opinion, a conclusion, a belief, some kind of a standard that you hold up, and this supports that part of the identity that is trapped in the illusion called ego or narcissism or self-centeredness, whatever polite word you want to use. So that's the stability there. It's the locking down and belief on something. And the rotation part of it is going back and forth and actually validating those positions. So not really even realize that you've just left one position for another position. You just go back and forth. And that movement back and forth seems to satisfy the self-centeredness in a way that the fixation is just a different style of fixation. It's a movement. You actually go in the movement. This is how you prove that something is happening. I used to feel this way, but now I've seen. But wait a minute, I was like this, but now I really see it. But the person loses the memory of the opposite position in terms of its actual texture quality. It's in an imaginary past because there really isn't any past. But the person would create a past. The person with fixation doesn't create a past because they're always right. They're always here. They always know what's next. And they will put on a show that they're really interested in they're very stable in a certain sense because they've stabilized the fiction, the ego. They've stabilized it. So therefore they're able to be in front of you as someone who's pretty stable. Isn't that right? One of y'all, a very stable person here who is a very, very strong position, doesn't rotate much. I could talk about other people who rotate around. And then there's the last one, which is the person who just begins in a particular direction. They don't have a stability in terms of ideas or conjunctions or conclusions or opinions, but they seem to be moving in some way. And one of the ways you can, it depends on who you are and which one of these three or other elaborations or other nuances that are very, very complicated in this area. So just different ways of doing that. One is the movement, the other is the rotation, the other is the fixation. More about that if you haven't.
Natsumi bowing. I'm wondering if any of that type of movement is related to, I think you had mentioned about curiosity and some level of investigation that comes from trying to see something.
It looks like when you sit very still and just observe that any one of those particular qualities or energies or styles are going to show up. And what is recommended is just receive, just look at it, observe it, and just receive what shows up. And when you when you begin to see that you don't really know what that is, there's a lot of curiosity comes up out of that about what is that? Fundamentally, what is that? You do not get an answer because we keep looking for some kind of um, we look for some kind of isolated situation or thing, something that's very discrete from everything else for the answer. And when that discretion seems to come apart and fall apart, we can't find the walls in the mind anymore. There's just consciousness only. Then the self-centeredness, the ego that was so curious about everything, it's not only the curiosity comes apart, but also the person who thinks there's somebody that falls apart too. And there's just might have a smile on your face because of this, because you see that everything you were chasing, obstructing, shutting down, trying to control, all of the craziness in the world is unreal. So you're in a better, to use the positionality word, you're in a better position in the illusion to actually help somebody, because you will not interfere with them. And you will only help them when they are open to your help, give you permission, or seem like they could use some of your understanding coming towards them. It's a very powerful teaching to do that with your children. You have 2 children, and to really observe them as much as you can. Children can be very irritating. Does everyone agree? Those of you who have children. But they're also extremely encouraging and extremely inspiring to watch someone, how they learn about this illusion and do it in so many different ways. It's just astonishing to watch children do that. It's astonishing and amazing to watch middle-aged people do that also. You all know who I'm talking about. I'm not middle-aged, though I'm not talking about myself. I'm old-aged. Is there a further question, Natsumi?
No, thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else in here? Yes, sir.
Milka bowing, some questions on YouTube.
YouTube.
Ross in Ireland bowing. There are occasions where some thought of memory takes hold of my mind and I can't seem to back out of it to observe it. Is realizing that is happening awareness? Bowing.
The important thing that you said there is can't seem to back out of it. That's the awareness. Being aware that you can't seem to back out of it. There's no credential there, but that's the awareness, not trying to back out of it. Just be aware that you can't do that. Failure is the greatest success on the spiritual path. Well, as Trungpa Rinpoche once said in a speech of many, many decades ago, the path to awakening is one disappointment after another until the final disappointment, which is awakening itself, because no one gets anywhere. There never was a person. So on some level, it's disappointing. So look at the failure. Don't fix it, don't correct it. Not that you shouldn't ask questions about it, of course.
Milka bowing, a question from Martin in Latvia.
Martin.
Is time a decoration? Bowing.
Time is a declaration, not a decoration. We think there is movement. We think there's space between here and there, between last week and next week. So it's decorative in the sense that you stop doing anything with it. That was Martine, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well said. The decoration.
Milka bowing, if awareness sees ignorance, what happens to ignorance?
If awareness sees ignorance,
Yes.
awareness can't actually see ignorance, because if it saw it, it would be ignorant. Because awareness just receives, so it would be receiving the ignorance. So it wouldn't see it, wouldn't see anything.
Milka bowing,
Are you asking this question, or is someone else?
I am.
What's your name?
Milka
Really?
bowing.
Milka Bowing. So Bowing is your last name? You must
At
be
the
related to
moment-
all these people here.
At the moment, we're all cousins.
They're all, they're all what?
Cousins.
Oh, your cousins. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay. Siblings. Yes, go ahead, please.
Milk bowing. If I'm sitting here and I can be aware of asking questions to you, but I can also, know that in the back of the room, I can't see the Mahakala on the shrine. In that kind of situation, is that ignoring anything?
That would be a way of talking about it. Your eyes are in the front of the head, like so, ears are on the side. So there's some more of a three-dimensional or peripheral thing going on where eyes are directional. So if you're looking this way, you're just not going to see over there, whereas a bird can see kind of 360 because they're could be attacked by something. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but yes, there's ignoring. That happens even happens in the area of sound where we shut down on certain things.
Milk bowing, when you say just be aware of the ignoring, is that I'm assuming that's part of the path?
Yes, you see that you can't be aware of that. So there's a kind of failure there also. From the point of view of ego, from the self-centeredness that wants something, wants to get something, wants to understand something, wants to conclude something, wants to get the understanding. You can't get that. Yes, sir.
Erlon bowing, the precept of no attaching to fulfillment is coming up with your topic. How is, could you speak on what that is talking about?
So the idea is not to be, if you gain something or get ahead, it's just not being attached to it. So it's looking at the desire. Right, here you are, you have a certain feeling and emotion. It's wanting something else. It's just a way of talking about desire, grasping, lust, greed, no attaching to fulfillment. If I were to say it very, very relatively in ego language, in everyday language, you don't care what happens. You don't care how you feel. You don't stop looking at it, and you don't stop being concerned with someone's suffering, including your own. You receive all of this, but you're not concerned about the outcome of it because you see it's such an illusion that it could have any kind of outcome. And if you get in and fiddle with it or push with it or try to squeeze some kind of success or some kind of outcome out of it, you're contributing to the chaos of the world. More. Eugene, go ahead.
Jishin bowing. You said at the beginning of your talk something about being complete. It is complete. I don't remember the context, but what is the completeness?
Well, what's the context?
I don't know.
That's it.
Is the completeness only when we don't know? Bowing.
Well, that would be a good stab in the dark. I've always wondered what that meant. Have you ever heard that saying of, oh, that's a stab in the dark, but it's like, what are you stabbing at? Why would you stab at the dark? So I get existential angst when I think about things like that. I don't wish that on anyone. Is there further,
I have one more,
do you have a more easier one?
one unrelated.
Okay.
Can we see that it is unreal and still enjoy it?
Yes.
Bowing.
You may enjoy it even more when you see it's the conventional idea. There's like watching a play. It's unreal, but it's even though there's tragedy, there's a kind of quality or feeling there that is it's an enjoyment over the illusion itself that it can manifest as so touching, like seeing someone in a movie who's not real, who's an actor, or on a stage play or something, or someone singing a song who was singing about a story about a song or an emotional quality. Or there's some songs that just have so much emotion in them, and if you look at the words, there's not much happening there. The words are going this way and that way and this way and that, but the quality of the emotion is so intense that we feel raw, especially with music. We feel raw emotion about that sound. It's an astonishing, amazing situation. So we can enjoy that.
Thank you.
Deb,
Good bowing. Earlier, when you were speaking of awareness, I think I heard you say, when you're not aware, you're at the mercy of your thoughts. Is that all the outflows? When you're not aware, we're just at the mercy of all the outflows that come and go? Is that one way to say it, bowing?
yes. So it's like a prison or a trap of the self-centeredness, the ego, where we might have an abiding feeling that we're safe, temporarily safe because we believe this and believe that, or grasp at this or grasp that. But then we begin to see that we're grasping, or we see that we're outflowing, or we're aware of the function that is happening there in the illusion. Then there's less protection for the ego, and there's more insecurity around that, about not knowing what's going to happen next, and we get concerned with it. And that's the path, is just when that starts to show up, just receive it, receive the insecurity. Pema Chodron once published a book whose title was The Wisdom of Insecurity. I think they have that title right. It's all you have to do is read the title and know what that means. Not that the book isn't good too.
Thank you. Dear Bowing, another thing that I'm curious about is there was something you said about if you don't meet others' expectations, they will stop helping you. Does that ring a bell? And there was something about that statement as I heard it that I can't formulate a question clearly at this moment, but if you don't meet others' expectations, what would that mean to you? How might I look at not meeting others' expectations, and
You
them
know,
stopping helping me? Bowing.
I think it's a kind of a broad statement that's going to show up in different ways. If you start functioning in a way that is not someone else doesn't approve of, then they might not be helping you that much at all. They might just be an acquaintance of someone that just stops talking to you, or it might be someone that works for you, that you don't meet their expectations as far as how much you pay them or how you treat them, and so they quit. So it's that's a very obvious, but there are other kinds, especially functioning as a teacher. I've had a fair amount of that happening, where the intention is to help others and with their permission, and but if people are really suffering and have a lot of difficulty, they can misunderstand, and so stop being involved with you or leave. Not that you need that kind of help from them. It's quite specific, quite complicated, and quite nuanced in each person's life. Each person here is listening it's going to show up so much differently. There's no way I can make kind of a blanket statement about how that's all going to look. You must have some experience of that, being a mom.
Deb Bowing, yes, a mom, a wife, a worker, for all of life. And so with that, thank you for that. The path then for me might look like, just for some guidance from you, just receiving how that feels to me, receiving how it feels like, oh, I'm not helping this person now, receive whatever my mind is being aware of. My own feelings, is that a place where I might try to come back to? Bowing.
Yes, just receive. Simply put, just whatever shows up, that's it. Just receive it. And if that is not consistent, but persistent. Just continue to return to that, receiving, and it might take the same shape for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years, or maybe 4. But eventually things tend to change in the illusion. And so as you observe this, you eventually, and I say eventually because I don't know how else to say this, because it doesn't actually function in time. You realize that, because when you realize there never was any time, nothing actually happened. When that non-occurrence occurs, you things still keep moving, going this way and that way, get hot, get cold, get light, get dark, fall over, feel good, not feel so good, but you just know that it's unreal. So the way to work with this, to train yourself to see the fundamental nature of what this is, the ultimate truth. That's a fancy relative term for something you can't even speak of. Ultimate, as opposed to relative. Ultimate truth, as opposed to a bunch of relative lies about things that are partially true. Have enough truth in them to be able to manipulate yourself and others. Difficult area. Most of the world is caught up by these. And as a student of the path, or a student of Buddhism, or as a bodhisattva, as someone who's received vows, or not even received them formally, if you just received them, however you've done it, or just wanting to understand that vow, all you have to do is receive everybody. Listen to them. Don't correct them. Don't fix them. Don't disagree with them. Don't argue with them. That being said, if they give you permission, if they say to you, so what do you think? You can say something. It's mutual. It's called communication. They actually give you permission to say something to them. And maybe the last 45 minutes, you listen to them. Not wrong, not right, not wrong. Difficult area. So good on.
Sokuzan bowing. What is your favorite Leonard Cohen song? Bowing.
I don't really have one of his. I'd rather have a Dharma question there rather than a favorite. Jen Ziegler, go ahead.
Jen Bowing. The last thing you were talking about just reminded me of a dynamic I think I've asked about before. Trying to make it concise. If at the cafe, for example, it often feels like people have come in almost with a script for me.
Yeah.
And if I'm being genuine, I don't want to play my part. But then but if I don't affirm what they've come to me for by enacting that role, it feels like I'm not supporting them. I'm not sure what to do in that scenario.
I would say you're doing it. I know you. I don't read your mind, but I know you fairly well. There's no way you can make any mistakes in that area. I mean, now the thing you have to be responsible for, and this is a direct teaching for you, just be responsible for your feelings. They're not dumping any feelings in you. If they're coming in, they're acting a certain way, and you're listening to them, and you feel somehow whatever emotions that you're trying to describe there, just receive those. There's no one there to blame. There's no one there that gets credit. There's nothing to approve, nothing to change. If you just see what that is and just receive it, no matter what it is, no matter how many rough edges, raw edges, or how smooth it becomes every 3 days, or this is starting to level out. Well, that's much better now. These are all just ego chatter. Nothing changes, nothing occurs. You can realize this right here. And you're doing it. I know you well enough to know that. Just continue. It's a matter of continuing on the path. Return to the cushion. Return to the coffee shop. Just return and just receive everybody as they come in. Fundamental kindness isn't necessarily being nice to people. It might be just listening. If you just listen and don't comment, quite often people will say, "Well, what do you think?" And say, I think it's fine." Well, you're not saying anything. You're not responding to me. If you're in a situation like that, people want you to engage with some kind of an argument, and you don't have to do that. Go ahead.
Jen Bowing. So my my receiving of these jagged edges, as you put it, I think, which is a really apt description, that are occurring inside me. That's my receiving them.
Yes. Now,
Thank
they
you.
won't know. You're not going to get any credit for it. You might get criticism because they want some other kind of feedback. People are very particular and biased about everything they say and do, and they want to be complimented, and they'll take a criticism because that reinforces their ego too. So, yeah, don't have to do anything with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Pendulum bowing, do we even have a choice of whether to do anything with that or not?
No.
So what we're doing here in this talk is just strengthening our intention.
It's the intention. And the intention is the path. The intention, be with all things, which is your mind, save all beings, which is the so-called mind that's out there in the living room. And just receive. And seeing that you can't do that, eventually we return to our true nature, which is consciousness only. This is a temporary illusion. We are not human beings. Your true nature, you're not a human. Go look in the mirror, you won't see anybody. If you do see somebody, it's not real. Don't believe me, you find out. You can do that. It's possible.
You know,
Good.
bowing, couple questions from Ath in the UK. What is the difference between consciously facing the wall and having a conscious sleep for a few hours? Are they one and the same? Thank you kindly.
Having a conscious sleep. You say conscious sleep.
Yes.
So are you having when you say conscious sleep, are you having a lucid dream or something? Or is it just, you just mean you fell asleep and you just decided to go to sleep? I'm not sure what's being asked there.
Milka bowing, we can move on to his other question.
Okay.
And see if he responds. What is dark in the dark night of the soul, and how do we generously receive the darkest moments of that darkness? Thank you.
So just using that image, just go into just don't know. Just go into the darkness, sit down and do it, put yourself on a schedule so that you don't come up with decisions like, well, I think I should meditate. Don't necessarily have to meditate when you feel good. Don't have to meditate when you feel bad. Just meditate every day at 7 o'clock, no matter what. No matter what, unless something comes up that you can't do that, but that's situational. But have some kind of an understanding with yourself where you're going to do this for a certain length of time, even if it's 2 minutes, even if it's 2 hours or whatever, just do that and look at the darkness. If you look at the darkness, it doesn't last. Nothing holds still in the illusion path. So I guess we can close unless there's someone on Zoom who has not asked a question. Let's see, James, go ahead.
James Bowing. How is awareness maintained during difficult situations? And is the cover up like putting a Band-Aid
One
on an open?
one question, I think very slowly, if at all, and just one simple question. I'd be happy to respond to it.
Sorry.
Do the first one or the second one or the third one?
Is the cover up like trying to bandage an open wound that would never heal?
Actually, it's just like trying to do something.
Okay. And the second question is, how do you maintain awareness during a sexual intercourse?
I don't know. I don't have those anymore.
Are you celibate?
No, I'm just old. And the other thing I would say on what you're asking, don't maintain anything. Don't maintain maintenance of things is. I'm not saying you don't need to maintain some things in your life in a relative part of the illusion. You're going to have to maintain some things, but when it comes to the spiritual path of sitting down, holding still, and observing, don't maintain that. Just return to it. And when you're sitting, And if you notice you're spaced out and you're daydreaming about something, you don't have to continue to daydream, but you can just return to what's in front of you. It's not a correction, it's just you return to this, return to the wall, return to the floor, return to how your body feels, but don't do it as a correction. Just include, if you daydream, that's fine. You might daydream for 20 minutes. Enjoy yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We'll stand and dedicate the merit.
Good idea.